We are so sorry. This last year, we didn't make very many videos at all, but for 2024, we are promising to kick ass and take names in the video making arena. And van wraps as well. So thank you to all of our subscribers for sticking with us and staying with us thus far. If you're new to this channel, thank you for joining us. We have finally finished the van, and you all deserve a cost breakdown of what our total build ran us. We will also be giving you a full van tour in our next video, so please subscribe if you want to check that out. It's really awesome having you on the channel. In this video, we broke down our total costs into categories. We will be going over each category and its total costs, as well as talking about how we could have saved money if we were to do it all over again. At the end of the video, we'll tally up all of the categories for a grand total. Also, we'll tell you about other van build items that we plan on buying in the future, and we'll see if that puts us over budget or not. The first category we will call appliances. This includes appliances like the fridge, the stove, the sink, the faucet, the scopema, swivel seats, the propane tank, but not stuffed animals. These are things that you're buying separately and installing. The reason we created a category for just things like this that you just buy separately and install was because these were some of the things we bought initially all at once. And honestly, I thought these things would cost us the most because I guess I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm new to this. I don't really have any experience. I just assumed that these appliances would be the bulk of the cost in this little dwelling. And sure, these things added up, but this is not the most expensive category. So this appliance category totaled to $4,844.32. For this category, we couldn't have done a whole lot to save money, but for example, we could have scored a smaller fridge, we could have snagged a smaller sink, we could have gotten a smaller propane tank, and just in general purchased smaller appliances that were cheaper. And of course, these are appliances. You could have purchased these used if you had found someone selling the ones that you want. We'll call this second category interior. This includes things like the insulation, the walls, the cedar planks and insulation for the ceiling, the insulation of wood for the floor, as well as the vinyl for the flooring, the headliner shelf, the CRL awning windows, and the Max Air ceiling fan, the kitchen counters, the kitchen cabinets, and all the laminate that went in the kitchen cabinets and the counters. Again, this category ended up being more expensive than we anticipated, although as I'm saying this, I'm realizing that we were surprised on how much everything totaled up to be in general. So this interior category totaled up to $4,800.15. All right, so let's see where we could have saved some money. The wood we used for the interior was pretty cheap wood. We bought most of our wood from Home Depot, which I wouldn't do again if I were to start this build over. Home Depot wood is absolutely horrible. You hear about it being horrible from YouTubers, you read about it being horrible from bloggers and their posts, and all of that is completely true. It delaminates when you cut it, it delaminates from moisture and air. It's just poorly made and poorly stored wood. With that said, I don't think we could have spent less money on the wood, so there's no place to really cut costs there. We used thin slit insulation, sound deadening material, and low E reflective foam core insulation, which we thought worked really well all together, so I don't think we'd change anything there. The floor was made out of XPS foam and plywood, with a top sheet of vinyl laminate on that, which is relatively inexpensive. There aren't many places that we can think of to save money in this category. When you see our complete van build video, you'll see how we would have designed the walls differently, but that change wouldn't have saved us money necessarily. So again, all in all, unless you're using repurposed wood for your walls and not insulating your van, then this cost seems to be about right. The next category is the cabinets. Now this category, we could have saved a lot of money. This includes the upper galley cabinets. That's it, upper galley cabinets. So check this out. Let's jump to the total cost. The total cost for these was $1,600. That's not pesos. That's dollars. And I have not misspoken, $1,600. We used 80/20 extruded aluminum for this. If we were to do this again, we'd have just used wood. Don't get me wrong, like we do like our cabinets, but I feel like the wood is strong enough, but maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's not. Let me know in the banter box below what you think, if you used wood before or if you think wood is strong enough. If you're interested in how we built the cabinets, then check out our complete van build video coming up in the next few weeks. If we had used just wood instead of the 80/20 and painted the wood instead of powder coating the 80/20, then we would have saved $1,000 on these cabinets. All right, the next category is plumbing. The plumbing includes all the pipes, the PEX tubing, the fresh water tank and gray water tank, the water heater, and all the fittings and hose clamps, etc. The total cost of the plumbing was $1,242.73. To save money here, you could have purchased a smaller freshwater tank instead of a 40-gallon like we did. Some folks don't even use under the van undercarriage gray water tanks. They just dump their gray water into jugs underneath the sink. So you could do that. That would have saved actually a few $100s. Our gray water tank was custom made so that it fit underneath the Ford Transit where we wanted it to, and that cost us $375. It's crazy talk. I know that's really expensive, but we're happy with it. And some van lifers don't even have a gray water tank at all. Also, you can purchase a slightly cheaper water heater than our Rheem water heater that we ordered. Bosch makes one the same size as ours, or actually a little bit bigger, for around $150. Our Rheem one was around $300. However, here's the cool part with our Rheem water heater. We converted our water heater so that it's 12 volt, which has been awesome because it uses a lot less power than a 120 volt water heater, which means more hot water for longer. How we converted that water heater and installed it will be in our complete DIY van build video coming up in the next couple of weeks. Let's move on to heating, shall we? We purchased the trusty dusty Chinese diesel heater and installed an auxiliary diesel gas tank under the carriage of the van. The total cost of our heating system was $752.94. Now you can't get a heater cheaper than the Chinese diesel heaters online, but you don't need to install an auxiliary diesel fuel tank like we did. So that would save you, if you didn't install an auxiliary fuel tank, $500 if you just did it minimally. So what's the next category here? Well, the next category is one that I find quite interesting. It is the category of hardware. This is all the hardware used for the interior construction. Again, being a new builder that I am with no experience, I had no idea hardware costs would add up so quickly. I mean, this includes the rivets, the bolts, the washers, the screws, the hose clamps, the clips, the washers. Did I already say washers? And when you look at a tiny washer or a tiny bolt, you don't expect it to cost very much or to amount to much at the end of your van build. But considering a lot of the hardware is stainless steel, the costs add up quickly.
So if you look here, this is a M8 stainless steel screw, and I used a lot of these, and it's price band C, which means each of those was $2.75. I used hundreds of stainless steel M8, M6 style Phillips head bolts for the build, and tons of other hardware as well. So you're thinking a few bucks for stainless steel hardware per piece can add up so quickly.
The total costs of the hardware was $2,267.32. I don't think we could have saved any money on hardware. However, at the end of the build, we did end up with a few boxes of screws, leftover washers and bolts, some clips, some clamps, but that could not have added up to more than like $200 and $250. So if you plan a little bit better, maybe you could save some money in the hardware category. The next category is pretty interesting as well. Let's call this category racks. This includes the rack to hold the solar panels and the surfboards. It also includes the rack in the back hitch of the van to hold our e-bike. The total cost of both racks and all the hardware required for those racks was $2,853.21. I don't know about you, but racks weren't even on my radar when I was planning the budget for this build, which is funny because it feels like a lot of stuff wasn't on my radar. Now, we made the roof rack ourselves out of 80/20 aluminum extrusion. It was a real pain in the ass to build, but it ended up costing us less than maybe like an out-of-the-box roof rack from Flatline or one of the other van accessory companies. And if you don't have a bike rack in the back of your van, or you just don't want to buy such an expensive rack like we did, then this could cost you half as much, saving you around $1,500. Our roof rack that we built was around $1,000 by itself. The second to the last category is a catch-all category. We're going to call this category supplies. We were able to borrow most of the tools we used for the build, so only a few tools are included in this category. This category includes supplies like paintbrushes, sponges, sandpaper, contact cement, glue, epoxy, varnish, duct tape, sealants, caulking, silicone clamps, miscellaneous tools, drill bits, router bits, all this stuff that you don't account for when you're planning the cost of your build. This sort of reminds me of when you're planning a budget for a trip and you forget that you're going to need supplies like butter, olive oil, cooking spices, condiments, and all the things like that that are sort of like extra sides that you don't really think about or don't really account for. Anyway, this totaled up to $968.27. All right, the category you've all been waiting for. I don't think you've been waiting for any category, but anyway, the last category is electrical. This includes the 700 watts of solar panels on the roof, all the wiring for our electrical system, the various switches and outlets and gauges, the 618 amp hours of battery, and all the Victron electrical equipment that we have. This is the most expensive category, coming in at a whopping $10,201.61. We bought all Victron components. We bought wiring kits from Explorus Life. Everything was wired and installed with professional quality. So how could you save money in this category? There are less expensive brands for electrical equipment, like brands like Renogy. You could have had fewer batteries with less overall amp hour capacity. You could have bought less expensive brand batteries, and you could have had fewer solar panels on the roof. Easily, you could save $5,000 by doing that. However, one thing that I wouldn't cut costs on is the wiring quality and hardware quality for proper wiring connections. You may have noticed that we also bought an e-bike. We purchased an Aerial Rider Grizzly. It's a 15-volt dual battery, dual motor. It has 35 amp hours of battery life and almost 2,000 watts of motor power. Click the video here if you want to see if this e-bike can actually drive with two people on it. The performance was not what we were expecting. We'll also put a link in that video below. The e-bike cost us $3,500 with taxes and shipping. We aren't going to include that in this van build total because it's not really part of the van build cost. It's more like an extra cost. So $3,500, we'll push that to the side. That's not going to be in the total at the end of this. Okay, so speaking of the total, let's see what that total comes to. Altogether, our van build cost us $29,530.55. Now, before we leave you, there are still a few items that we need to purchase. One is an air conditioning unit, and it is a very long story of why we haven't installed the air conditioner yet, but we plan on doing that in the next couple of months. In short, though, we put a deposit down for a new air conditioner from this new company that's producing air conditioners, and it was supposed to be available a year ago, and it's only now becoming available at the end of January 2024. So once we install the new air conditioner, we will create a video showing you how we installed it and reviewing how well it works, so check it out. Other items that we plan on buying are related to our security system. This week, we will be installing a security system with cameras and anti-shatter window film, as well as deadbolt lock to ensure the security of our tiny home. We will make another video showing you what we installed and give you a rundown of how well it works and how much it costs. For all of those new items that we're about to buy, we're budgeting for around $30,000. but we'll see. Things always cost more than you think. Thank you so much for watching this video. We look forward to connecting with you in 2024.